So guys, we are here today to talk about some of the updates for migration in South Australia. I'm Fernanda from Information Planet Adelaide. For you guys that already know, we are an agency for international students. We have offices in Australia. There are 7 offices around Australia, also offices in Latin America and Europe. Today we are gonna talk about the some of the updates for South Australia, for migrating to South Australia. I'm gonna invite Claudio from 7 Migration to explain a little bit more of everything for those who are thinking of studying or migrating to South Australia. So I'm gonna invite Claudio. Just a second. That very hold on. So let's see if I can make it. First time join this lives. So if you have any questions, you can send them on the chat, and then myself or Claudio will try to explain everything. So hi Claudio, how are you?
Hello.
How's everything going in Perth?
Good. Everything is well here. How are things going in Adelaide?
Well, now it's been all right. So after a bit of stress in the last month, but it's everything going well now. All this COVID thing is now under control.
Okay, and what's going on with immigration in South Australia? That's the question.
So that's what everyone wants to know.
Yeah.
So I think you guys already know Claudio, but I will ask you to introduce yourself for those ones that is the first time they are hearing us.
Sure. Yeah. My name is Claudio. I am a migration agent, and I'm also the director of 7 Migration. We share the office with the Information Planet in Adelaide, in Perth, but we always are together in all the cities with all the offices in for Information Planet. So if you ever come to the Information Planet in Perth or Adelaide, you will be visiting 7 Migration as well.
Yeah. So Claudio, can you share a little bit of the South Australia immigration background in the recent years? I think pretty much South Australia has always welcomed international people.
Yeah, South Australia is definitely one of the most open states for immigration. Over the last few years, we have done many applications for state nomination in South Australia. Definitely the state that we did the most applications was definitely South Australia. The good thing about South Australia is that they usually have a very large occupation list, so it's different from other states. They accept almost all the of the occupations there are on the Departments of Home Affairs lists. So this is a good sign that the state is open to everyone, and the state needs skills of all kinds to make the state grow, the economy of the state grow. So this is a big advantage that South Australia has. Another thing that they do value quite a lot is their international students. So they always make pathways for international students to be able to attain permanent migration after they complete their studies. This is something that is also available in some other states, but in South Australia it's quite interesting because they always make a shorter requirement in terms of study than other states. And what there's a very specific thing that South Australia is a pioneer, but all the states are following, is that they usually also require some level of work experience, or at least something that the applicant going into the job market before they can be invited for a state nomination visa. Why does the state do that? It's just to ensure that they are selecting people who will come to South Australia and contribute to the economy of the state in their occupation. So they don't want to risk, they don't want to take a person and invite them for the state nomination to be permanent resident in South Australia, unless they are certain that this person will contribute to the state and fulfill that demand they have for that occupation. So this is very, South Australia was a pioneer in this requirement, but it's being followed for almost all the states by now. One last thing that I really like about South Australia is that they are very accessible. They are usually very accessible. So when we need information, when we need to question about requirements and everything, they are very accessible, and they make themselves available to answer questions and everything. So this is another thing that South Australia is different from other states.
Cool. And today, Migration SA also released news, but not news. They haven't released the list yet, but they've announced that they are allocating the everything. So we hope that the lists are gonna be released soon. What do you think? Is there any prediction for the skilled visa in South Australia?
No. All the news that we have now from South Australia is that the news is not coming. The news is not coming. The news is still not coming. They had it's important for people to know what's going on at this moment. The coronavirus made all plans for everyone change this year, including the government. So the budget that usually happens in March, this time was postponed for October. So we had the budget in October, beginning of October, and during the budget, the government set out the allocation. So they say, okay, we have so many visa applications, visa allocations, and we're going to share these allocations within the states. But because they have only a few allocations, they ask the states to request the number of invitations they will need. And from the budget to this moment, they are still deciding which state will receive the most allocations, which state will receive more places for the 190, for the 491, which states don't want that many visas allocated. So this is a process that is going on at this moment. Actually, it's just being concluded last week. So last week, the government decided on the number of visa places for each state. So each state received the visa places, and they are now building their migration plan based on the number of visas allocated to that state. So some states, today we just had an announcement from New South Wales that they already completed their migration list because they have had the allocation defined, and they're going to start inviting probably from January. South Australia today announced that, okay, we have concluded the allocation, but we haven't decided of what we're going to do with this number of visas allocated to us. So they're going to decide, okay, so we have that many visas allocated to us. What we're going to do, what we need at this stage. So we need engineers, or do we need, I don't know, IT professionals, nurses. So they are still deciding on what they're going to do with these visas that have been allocated to the state. What they did announce today is that they are going to take a Christmas break from the 20th 23rd, 23rd of December until the 11th of January. So if
Probably we are not expecting anything before that.
yeah, it can either come until the 22nd, but if it doesn't come until the 22nd, forget it. It will only come after the 12th of January. So I have no idea. I mean, I don't have extra information. All the information we have is what they publish and is available for everyone. They don't make special arrangements for me. Uh, but what I have a feeling that they might publish the requirements at least by the 22nd of December, and then they go on Christmas break to start putting that plan in practice from the 12th of January. So this is not a predicament, it's just a feeling, it's just a guess. Everyone has the right for their guess, and my guess is as good as any. But I would say that it's very there's a good chance that the list will be released by the end of the before Christmas break, but invitations will only be available from January 1st.
Okay. And do you have any idea of the professions that are hardly off the list, or those that are in high demand at the moment in South Australia?
Well, the occupations that are most in focus nowadays because of the pandemic are the occupations that help on the economy recovery of the states, and also to come back to the pandemic. So immigration for the visa 189, for example, they created a list of only 18 occupation. So only these 18 occupations are being invited, and basically it's just like nurses, occupations. There's some engineers, some IT professionals, but very limited options. So we don't have many options to explore, right? South Australia has an interim plan, so they are inviting people in these essential work in these essential areas. So agriculture, engineering, health are still being invited, but only people who have been working in their field. So the program is actually open. It's just not open to everyone because they are just making a few invitations for really exceptional people who can help with the pandemic. New South Wales has done the same. They have released a list of only 21 occupations, most of them health, IT, or engineering. So I would say that these occupations nowadays are the occupations that are the main focus, but it's just because of, it doesn't mean it's if the person will start. Exactly, because if the person is going to start studying now to be eligible to apply in 2-3 years, this list will change a lot. And by the time he completes the course and experience and everything, maybe the pandemic will have been a thing of the past, and we're going to have better prospects for everyone. But at this stage, safest occupations would be health, agriculture, engineering, IT, but it's especially true for those people who have been working in their field in South Australia, or if they are in other states, the same. So all the states will focus on these occupations, which can help the economic recovery, but they are giving total preference for people who have been working in their field, so already contributing to the demand of their occupation in their field.
Okay. And for anyone who wants to apply for a sponsorship visa, has anything changed? Is there any released list or anything different from what we had before?
No, for employer-sponsored visas, the list doesn't change as much. So the list has not changed, and the list that is on now has been available since since over a year now. So since November 2019, the list hasn't changed at all. And when it does change, it doesn't change much. The list is from the states is much more complex because the states are dependent on the allocation that the immigration will give to them. So every year they have to adapt to a new number of visas allocated to them. And states have different perspectives. So maybe South Australia is different from Western Australia, that is different from Tasmania. So lists from the states do change a lot. And also the requirements, because every year the state will have to adapt to a new allocation. But for employer-sponsored visas, for people who have been working in their field and have received a nomination or a sponsorship from the company that from their employer, nothing has changed, and I don't think nothing will change now. It might change maybe in March or in July when immigration usually does a revision of their plans. But not at this moment. At this moment, immigration already has the allocation for employer-sponsored visas, and if they haven't changed the list by now, they won't until the end of the financial year, which is 30th June 2021.
Okay. And what about DAMA? There's a new list that was released a couple of maybe months ago.
Yeah.
Could you comment on this, or how does it work?
This is probably the best news we had from South Australia. Last month, South Australia released a new requirements and list for DAMA in South Australia, and they made it much more accessible for most occupations. They made it more accessible for international students. So it's surprising that DAMA in South Australia has been available for over 1 year, but it was just so hard to meet all the requirements that they only received, I believe, 7 applications throughout the year. So it was 1 year, a full year. They had 500 available visa for DAMA in South Australia, and they only applied for 7. So they understood that it was too hard. It was too hard for people to meet all the requirements they had. So now the new list and new requirements much more accessible. It is accessible for international students. They have many concessions. So, for example, there are occupations that go up to 55 years old. So if the person is already 52, 53, which is usually out of questions for any other visa category or any other stage, there is still migration pathways in South Australia if the person is qualified and experienced. There are concessions for English. The English level requirements have lowered quite a lot. So now you can apply a visa with maybe 4 on IELTS on some bands, for example. And also skills and experience, right? So, for example, international students have difficulties in meeting the experience requirements because they finish the course. They might have 18-month work experience doing the graduate visa, and most work visas require 2 years experience. So they cannot meet the work experience they need to go for a sponsor visa if they don't have any other pathway. So now DAMA, these new requirements from DAMA made available provisions that will allow applicants for some occupations apply with 1 year experience, or maybe even if they don't have qualifications for some occupations, they only need 2 years experience altogether anytime in their life, for example, in some occupations, right? So it's much more accessible, and immigration has already made everyone aware that skill visa is not their focus on for at least this financial year. So it won't change much. It will not help. We will not get it any better before at least 30th of June. But their main focus now is on the other visa categories, and one of them being employer sponsor, and DAMA being so accessible for most people definitely is an option. Another good thing about DAMA, there are occupations there that are not even on the list. So, for example, they don't exist. So they created new occupations because they said, okay, we need this kind of professional, but when we go for the ANSCO database, which immigration uses to create the lists, none of the occupations there um, match the requirements of this person that they really need, this profession that they really need. So they create new occupations. Right? For example, there's an occupation here that is called um, advancement professional. So this occupation doesn't exist anywhere. So you won't find any list for an advancement professional. But South Australia has created that because they have identified a professional called advancement professional that they will need, and the kinds of duties and job description this person will have is not available in any other occupation on the list. So it is another good feature of DAMA.
So we have here, what does this advanced professional mean? So that's probably...
Well, yeah, I just guessed here I just got one example, right? So of one occupation. Yeah. And if people go to the DAMA, to South Australia's website, there's a occupation list there for DAMA. Maybe Information Planning can share the list afterwards. Sure. And the person can go into the list, see the occupation that they think they might qualify for, and read the description of the occupation, read the requirements, the exemption, everything is all available in their website. Of course, if the person will have to have qualification and experience. It's not anyone who can go there, say, oh, okay, I'm going to apply as an advancement professional. It doesn't work like that. You need to have skills and experience that match that occupation. So you should have a professional background that is equivalent to that job description. So this is very important because many people ask about DAMA and many people ask about occupations that are on the DAMA occupation list, but it's not for everyone. It's for people who really have the skills and experience for that occupation, and most importantly, they have a sponsor. They need a company in South Australia to sponsor them on the visa. So if you are already working in a company and you look there in the list, you say, look, wow, what I do in my company is really close to what the job description of this occupation on the list says the advancement professional is. So they can say, okay, maybe I'll try to check with South Australia if my occupation, what I do at my company, is equivalent to an advancement professional. And if they say it is equivalent, maybe you can ask your company if they intend to sponsor you on a visa so you can work full time and have a pathway to permanent residency.
Yeah, so someone from Seven already send us the link on the chat. Mm-hmm. But if anyone else wants this link and doesn't have chance to check it now, just let me know and that we can share the link with you guys as well. Claudio, we know that the lists can change from time to time. There's no fixed date. Usually with the financial year, when the budget is done. But what tip could you give for those ones who want to migrate to South Australia next year or in the coming years?
Sure. South Australia is very open to migration. It has always been. It's not going to be changing now. Many people worry about South Australia, saying, look, there are many people going to South Australia. Immigration in South Australia is too competitive at this moment. Many candidates, and it is, but it's not more than other states. Other states are still receiving more applicants. For example, if we compare South Australia with New South Wales or Victoria, if we compare the number of people applying for visas there, South Australia is still not even close to states of the East Coast. And I believe immigration in South Australia is receiving many applications, but this is something that they want. They want to receive many applications because they want to grow the state, right? So they want to increase population, they want to bring more skilled people, they want to really become economic power of the country. So it's not something that is going to be more competitive. Of course, there will be more candidates, but there will also be more jobs and opportunities and visa pathways as well. The one thing that I really tell for people who go to South Australia, South Australia will always look for you, will always consider your application if you are a truly skilled professional. So if you are a really skilled professional, if you are qualified, experienced, and especially if you find job in your field in South Australia, your chances of migrating are very high. So you will have very good chances of migrating to South Australia if you have the qualification and the experience and find a job in your occupation. If you don't have so much qualification and experience, or maybe your occupation is too hard to find employment in South Australia, the good thing about South Australia is that they do have an international graduate program. They give many advantages for people who study in South Australia. So if you don't have an occupation on the list, or if you have an occupation but you don't have, it is hard to work in your field in Australia, or you want to change careers, maybe it's a good opportunity for you to come to South Australia, study something that you like, that it might give you a pathway to migrate to South Australia. And by the end of your studies, experience, and everything, you will have been a professional, qualified, and experienced, and you will be what the state is looking for. But of course, it is a longer pathway. So if we consider that you will still have to study, gain experience and everything to become the professional that South Australia is looking for, then it might take a couple of years or a few years, but at least you will get there. You know, it's better to go through this pathway, but get qualification, get experience, be nominated by the state, and still have a new career and a career with good employment prospects in the state. It's better to go that pathway than go into adventures and do what other people are doing. It's better to be qualified and be invited because you really deserve.
Cool. And just for those who were asking about DAMA, there's the link of the migration essay on 7's bio as well. So Claudio, I've heard that 7 has a promotion called Migration Combo. Could you explain a little bit more about this combo and how it helps people who want to save money on their migration plan?
Sure. Is Migration Combo, what we're doing is we are making exemptions on visa fees for our professional fees on many services that we usually charge separately. So for people who have studied in Australia for 2 years and are eligible for the graduate visa, the work visa post-study, we are not charging anything to include family members, partners, and children. We're not charging anything to apply for their provisional skills assessment. And we are also giving 50% of discount for applicants on the post-study stream for people who have concluded the higher education studies of at least 2 years in South Australia. We are charging 50% of our fees and still not charging anything to include family members. So it is very good deal. It's getting much cheaper than we usually charge. And this will help many applicants because when they finish the course, they are already planning to start their pathway to a permanent migration, and they will be coming into a graduate visa through Seven Migration, and they will because they will have been a client of Seven Migration for the graduate visa, we will follow them until they are eligible to the permanent residency application. So we will be doing free consultations throughout their graduate visa duration. So we can say, look, okay, now you finished your course. Next step, okay, let's apply for your graduate visa. Okay, now you got your graduate visa, got 18-month visa or 3-year visa, whatever. So now what you have to do is to find a job in the occupation. So we're gonna be guiding them, let's say, and any change in the requirements from the state, we will be there with them. So this is important because we don't want people to just finish their course and not want to book consultations with us because we charge fees and everything. It's best for them to have this client as soon as they finish the course, so we can guide them step by step until they can reach their permanent residency. So it is a good deal.
Really good support for everyone. Yeah.
And other thing is we also make available a free assessment. So if you have finished your studies, you don't know if you are eligible for the graduate visa or no, you can go to our website, in our Facebook or social medias. There's always a link there which you can fill up a form, and probably Seven Migration will again put the link here. You can fill up the form, and we will assess the client and say, look, you are eligible for the graduate visa. Here's your fee estimate, or maybe you're not eligible at this stage, but maybe if you study that course, when you finish that course, you might be eligible. Please contact us on a later date. So they will know. We can tell them if they are eligible for the graduate visa or not. And one more thing, on top of all the discounts we have been made for the graduate work, which is usually for people who study vocational course, we also have 25% discount for IP students. So
very good.
Your family members, you don't pay for your provisional skills assessment, and what you do pay is to have 20% discount on top of that. So it is something that we're trying to do, so we can really go together with the client from the finishing of their studies until they become permanent residents.
Cool. I have here some questions, Claudio. Fran asked, actually she said she's working in the occupation, but it is in the supplementary list. Do you think they will consider?
Right now, there's no list. There's no main list. There are no supplementary list. Supplementary list was something that was available until June 2020. So from June 2020, there's no supplementary list. There's no main list. So right now, there's no list. They are just saying, look, whatever your occupation, you can apply. Because we have an interim program, they have an interim program now, and they are only inviting people who they believe will help in the economic recovery post-pandemic of the state. The list will come probably end of this year or maybe January. We don't know. But I don't know if it's going to be divided on main list and supplementary list, or it will be just one list, or what list they will be making. We don't know. So we have to change. At this moment, what's her name? Sorry.
It's Fran.
Fran. At this moment, your occupation is not on the supplementary list. It's in the immigration list. Let's wait until South Australia releases the new list and say if they have made different lists, or if your occupation is in each of these lists.
There is another question here from Juan. Does the regular sponsorship give a pathway for PR, or is that the provisional ones?
It depends. For employer sponsor visa, it will depend on which list your occupation is. So for a visa that is for an occupation that is in the medium long-term list, usually this occupation will give a pathway to permanent residency. If it is in the short term, no, but it might be available on the 494, the regional employer-sponsor visa. Then you become provisional resident, and then you can become resident after 3 years. For DAMA, which is available in South Australia, now all the occupations on DAMA do have a pathway to permanent residency. So all the occupations that are on the DAMA list, if you go into the DAMA visa, you will have a pathway to permanent residency, usually after 3 years.
Cool. I think I had seen another question before. Should I lodge the expression of interest or wait to the list?
Well, I mean, expression of interest is free. So if you want to apply for an expression of interest now, it doesn't charge you, there's no fee, you can do it. I don't see the point. I don't see the point in expression of interest for a visa that is not even available at this moment. So you might lodge an application for an expression of interest, and then you might not be eligible, and the expression of interest will be there getting old only. So I wouldn't apply for an expression of interest if I didn't know if the person was available, eligible or not, unless the person really wanted and say, look, let's try and see what happens in the future. But that's something that it doesn't have much. It doesn't help much to lodge now.
Okay. There is another question. Is there any clue about when South Australia occupation list will release? So we already talked a bit about this. So migration is gonna go on Christmas break until the 11th of January. So if they don't release anything before that, definitely it's gonna be after the 12th of January. Is there any other question, guys? I'm not sure if I missed any other question because the comments goes the comments go up here. So if you have any questions that we haven't answered, if you can type them again, that would be great. And I know that our focus is South Australia, but how is the migration in Western Australia? Have they released any news?
No, in Western Australia, the only list that is available now, which has been released today, is New South Wales. But it is very limited. There's only 21 occupations for the zero visa. I think 23 for the 491. And there are not many options. At least South Australia is inviting people from a little bit, at least they consider everyone. So for example, if you have an occupation, you have the skills assessment for the occupation, and you say, look, because there's no list in South Australia anyway, I can apply, and I can see maybe you are, I don't know, working with something that you consider to be essential. You can apply and see if the states likes your application at this stage. In this interim program, that's what they are doing. They're just receiving all the applications and choose that they believe might contribute to recovery and the post-plan recovery. But the new lists. Lu Coelho has asked, how do we know if we need professional experience to apply for a visa, for example, for early childhood teaching? Well, Lu, the work experience can be for many reasons, and I think in your case, the first thing that we have to consider is the skills assessment. And for some skills assessment authorities, work experience is mandatory. For others authorities, is not. So for AITSL, which is for early childhood teaching, work experience is not a requirement, but it's not only the skills assessment that we have to check. We also have to check if the state will require an occupation, a work experience in your occupation. The state might requirement, even though your skills assessment authority doesn't. We also have to check if your points are enough. So maybe if you have a higher age or you lose points in some ways, we might use the work experience to increase your point score and maybe make you qualify for a visa. So experience can be either for the skills assessment authority, in some cases, not yours, for the points, if we need points, and for the requirements from the state.
So there are other few questions here. Do we need to be living in New South Wales to apply for the 190?
Yes. If you're not living in Wales, yeah, if you're not living in New South Wales, they have made an option there, which I haven't read much because it was released today. But if I'm not mistaken, if you have a job offer in regional New South Wales, you don't have to be living there. But usually, this is something that is not available for people who are in other states.
And another question, how do I become eligible for a PR while holding a graduate visa?
Well, the graduate visa is part of the pathway we designed to make the person attain permanent residency after a little time. You can use the graduate visa to gain work experience, to complete your skills assessment, maybe to wait until requirements from the state are released, and like it is happening now. So the graduate visa usually is used for work experience, so you can become eligible for probably a state nomination, visa 190, 491, or maybe if the visa is not available, as it is not now for most people, maybe at least you gain experience in the graduate visa to maybe go to an employer sponsor visa after you have gained that experience. So usually graduate visa is either a pathway to a state nomination for 190 or 491, or an employer sponsor visa when you have enough experience.
And there's another question from Jonathan. Do you feel any positive position for aged care support professionals for PR purpose?
It is available now for DAMA. So if he wants to apply on DAMA, definitely it is available now. So it's a pathway. But aged care professionals are not on the skill occupation list at this stage. So the list that will come now is only the list from the states, and because immigration has not included aged carer in the general occupation list, the states cannot. So there's no expectation that the aged care professional will come in the state nomination list, because unless the immigration authorizes and includes in their lists, the states cannot use an occupation that is not on the main list. But it might be when the new budget comes in March of next year, they might change the list, and they might include this occupation on the main list, and then states might make it available. But at least this moment, it is available for DAMA.
Okay. How much is Seven charging to prepare for lodging, state sponsorship, EOI, and PR application?
We don't like to give the price. It's just because we have to understand the client before we can just say, look, we charge that much. Sometimes it's a simpler case, we can charge simpler. Sometimes it's a more complicated, we're going to charge more. Sometimes the person packages more services. For example, they're going to do skills assessment with us, expression of interest, say nomination. Yeah, and all the service, then we can package and make a better price. So it's hard for us to give prices because it will depend on many factors.
Yeah, and also one IP students have 25% on the combo.
Yeah, all the migration charges, IP students have 25% discount.
Yeah. One more question. Do you have an idea when SA will release the skilled visa?
No.
I think that's the list, but yeah, we've already talked about this.
Yeah.
We are very anxious.
Yeah, everyone is.
Any other questions? Well, Claudio, one more question. Is there a risk to have a profession removed of DAMA's list?
I mean, these lists can change at any moment, but this list has just been released. It was released last month, so I don't think they released last month to remove any occupations now. But of course, in maybe 1 year, 2 years, they might make a review of their list and change occupations, add some, remove others. This new list has many more occupations than the previous list, so they included many occupations, and I don't think they removed any. So right now, the list has better prospects, better chances. But I don't see the list changing anytime soon because it has just been released.
All right. Well, guys, if there is any other question, you can send to us. You can either send to IP or direct message to Seven Migration. We'll do our best to answer everyone as long as we don't need migration consultation. Thank you, Claudio, for participating, for joining us this afternoon.
You're welcome.
One more question. I came straight from Brazil to South Australia. I studied mechanics. Can I apply for 190?
We will only know when they release the list.
So we need to wait until January.
Yes.
Probably. It's best to fill in that skills form for more specific help. So I think it's for the forms. There's Seven website.
Oh yeah, I mean, that occupation is for you to know if you are eligible or not for the graduate visa. If you have just completed 2 years studies in South Australia or in any other state in Australia, and you want to know if you may be eligible for the graduate visa, that's the form you're going to use. For more specific help, more information, I ask everyone to go to www.sevenmigration.com.au and book a consultation through there. But if it's for information about South Australia, I would recommend to book on the second half of January, just because I don't know if the list will be released until the 22nd, or if it's going to be released maybe on the 11th, 12th, or 13th. January. So it's safer, so you don't waste money on a consultation that I won't have much information to give you. It's safer that you book on the second half of January.
Okay. Well, I think that's all for today. Thank you again, Claudio. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.